Welcome back to Good Morning Kenya. How are you doing? This is Good Morning Kenya. My name is Mike Migwe, and now we get to a whole different conversation. And the world has become a global place thanks to technological innovations, and there's also the emergence of digital currency. Currently, Kenya has about 2.7 to 4 million cryptocurrency holders right now, which makes it even more important to talk about this topic. Today we are going to discuss digital currency risks and regulations in Kenya, and in studio to help me with this conversation is none other than Sewe Wycliffe, who is the cryptocurrency investigator and compliance specialist and at A&D Forensics. And also on my immediate left is Adedeji Owonibi, who is a blockchain forensic investigator and senior partner at A&D Forensics. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming to the show. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Let's get into it. And one of the things I would want you to tell me, or to tell the person who is watching right now, what is the difference between cryptocurrency and forex trading? Let me start with you, Wycliffe.
Wow. So thank you so much.
Yes.
And allow me just to touch on the difference, because so many people usually confuse about forex trading and cryptocurrency trading.
Yes.
And when someone is participating in forex trading, forex basically means changing one currency to another currency. That is a country's currency. For example, in Kenya, we normally use the Kenya shillings.
Yes.
So we are participating in a company's share. Now, when you come to the digital currencies, remember now these are this is now digital money, which gets transacted through electronic format. Now, in the digital currency arena, it's subdivided into three categories, where we have got what are known as the central bank digital currencies, the ones which are now under the scrutiny and management of central banks of government. And then we have cryptocurrency now, which is also called virtual currency, which works under technology which is called the blockchain, which is a distributed ledger technology. Basically, that means it's decentralized and there is no any central authority which governs it. Then now we have what is called the stable coin under the digital currencies. Now with the stable coin, their value is pegged on physical money, or their value is pegged on an asset. That's now what makes the difference between forex trading and cryptocurrency. Yeah.
Now, somebody who might be using M-Pesa today, and this is directed to Deji, somebody who is using M-Pesa today may say, I'm operating my money online, digitally, because I'm using a phone to pay for a service or do something else. Is it the same as using cryptocurrency? What is the major difference?
Okay, thank you very much. So the major difference is just like my colleagues have explained. So what you have within the M-Pesa is simply Kenyan sovereign money, which is the Kenyan shilling that is held in the bank, that is just represented to you digitally on your M-Pesa wallet. So this is still the fiat money we talk about. But the digital currency that we're talking about is those currencies, like he classified it, that are not centrally governed. Of course, the Kenyan shilling is centrally governed by the Kenyan government. And so the digital currency is actually the currency that is online, digital native. So when I mean digital native, that is the origin of it. It's not like the M-Pesa that takes the Kenyan shilling to put it in the digital format. This one has no any other resident, if I may put it like that. It emanated from the computer age. And many things have gone online since the internet explosion. So you stay in your house, you Google anything, and now when you ask people questions, they are shocked because they think you can simply just Google it, because we have an explosion of information. But one single thing that have not gone online is actually money. So you cannot just touch anything and just send money the way we're getting information. And that is not possible with Kenyan shilling. That is not possible with South African rand or pounds or all that, because they are enclosed and controlled by the individual government, right? But this money, that we talk about came into the internet to allow seamless transfer. The way you get information, money is going to work like that, you know, at a click of button. And why, you may ask, a lot of people ask, why did it take this long to have money? If you say they are coming with the internet explosion, the simple reason is that anything digitally I send to you, I still maintain a copy. So if you take a photo of if I take a photo with my phone, and I send it to you, I still retain a copy of my photo on my phone. So money cannot work like that. So that's why money is taking a backseat to go to the internet. Because if I send you money and you still have it, it does not make any sense. Because you double spend. So I can buy a car from you, and I go again to buy a house because I have a copy of it. So it can work like that. And that is why money took longer time to get online. But now, since 2009, with a pseudonymous individual, whether a group of person or an individual was able to break that double spending problem. And that took money to the internet, which is now the digital money we talk about. So it resides there. And so you don't need to have any, maybe bank account anywhere. All you need is a wallet. And the same way you get information, you can actually transact money like that, like you're sending email. And that is the era we're in now. So the whole world is struggling to understand it, but that is the natural next move for money. And so countries are learning about it. Central banks around the world are learning about it. Law enforcement around the world are learning about it because, again, you understand that when there's a new technology, criminals moving very fast to take advantage, and so you don't see law enforcement there, you don't see tax regulators there. So they just take the backseat and do a catch-up later, and that is what is happening now. And that is why we think we need to sensitize a lot of people. But it's not the same with M-Pesa, with this strategy.
It's not the same with M-Pesa. Now, Wycliffe, how can use of cryptocurrency and digital currencies be used to curtail money laundering and tax evasion?
Okay. Allow me to probably share an analogy. You see, in the animal kingdom, let's say when an eagle is hunting, and when an eagle spots a fish, you'll actually collect the fish from the water, and then you will take the fish up in the sky, knowing that when the fish is up in the sky, the fish becomes vulnerable and cannot be able to defend itself. The same thing also happens with the crocodile. When the crocodile wants to probably do an attack, you will ensure that you come to the territory where it can be able to control you. And it's the same thing now in the world of cryptocurrency. And that's why you'll see majority of the criminals are basically taking advantage of it simply because they know that people are still green in this area. And that's why you'll see anytime maybe a bad actor or a criminal decides to commit a crime, he will basically take you to the cryptocurrency space, knowing that you don't actually understand what is happening there. And that's why it's becoming so easy for the bad actors to start participating in things like terrorism financing, start participating in things like money laundering. And that's why today we are actually now letting guys, for those who basically think that if crime has happened, let's say the criminal has taken your money and he has converted it into cryptocurrency, for us, we are basically telling you it is now actually possible to know where exactly your money is. And that's why we normally have got some of the technological tools which we are working in hand with the law enforcement, together with the lawyers, together with the banks, so that at least from there the law enforcement can be able now to even investigate and be able to trace and monitor such kind of transactions. Initially in the past it was so difficult and people used to give up knowing that once their money has been converted into crypto, they knew that that's a done deal. But now, with the increasing rise of technology, we are basically letting the law enforcement, it's now one of the most easiest, crime to trace and monitor.
Yes. Now, Deji, when we talk about digital currencies, the aspect of risks cannot be ignored. What are the risks that are involved in this, in the digital currency space?
Thank you very much. I think my colleague did some justice to that, right? And I used to say, because it's new, the criminals have taken the first movers advantage. As a matter of fact, why there's a confusion that when you mention cryptocurrency, people just believe it's money for criminals, and simple. They just stop there. And why do they have to say that? They're possibly not too wrong. The innovation is great and fantastic, but the first users are actually criminals that used it. So earlier when it came up, criminals just felt, oh, want to buy drugs, want to sell drugs, want to sell credit card and hacking tools within darknet market. So it's a marketplace where law enforcement is difficult to go there. It's a part of an internet where you're browsing with your phone, with your laptop. You cannot go there. So we call it a darknet. It's the darkest side of the internet. But what happens there is that you can actually go there and get, if I want you dead, and I'm not saying I want you dead, but if I want somebody to take you down, I go to the darknet market and I simply pay with cryptocurrency, and only for you to see when you're driving home somebody takes you down. The deal has been done within the darknet market. And so for cyber criminals that are hacking people's credit cards, they go to the darknet market to sell it to some other people. So they tell you, oh, I've got Wycliffe's credit card that has $10,000 in it. Can you buy it for $1,000 in the darknet market? So I buy it from the darknet market. I go spend $10,000 using just $1,000 to the guy that I don't want himself traced. So that marketplace is called Silk Road in the US then. And it was the most popular thing that the cyber criminals felt, oh, there's a new money in town, and I think we can use this new money to propagate our trade within the darknet market. And it became so great within few months of starting it. And the young man that started it, made a lot of billions of dollars and all that. And the law enforcement just believed that, oh, there's a new money, we need to up our game. So they have no idea how to go about that, how to investigate that. But I think the FBI team did a very decent job. And this is, I'm talking about 2012, back 2012, 2013. They did a very great job, and that is the reason why we're even seated here, because the idea why people go into cryptocurrency is that it's a money that cannot be traced. It's the money that nobody sees you, and when you have it, you're off from law enforcement, from paying tax and all that. That is the initial understanding of criminals. But they were able to go in and see it and begin to, so because you don't have an account number, so if you, M-Pesa, you have your phone number, and that phone number is registered with your name. Yes. So anything you do, all we need to do is pick up your phone number, and the telecommunication industry can trace who have this. Yes. But in the blockchain world, there's no actual name attached to anything. The address is alphanumeric. And when I say alphanumeric, it's a combination of numbers and letters and very long string. And so you cannot say if it's Sewe that is touching this or who. So, but what they're able to do is to begin to put what we call personal identifiable information to attach to that wallet. So I don't know who this is, but I can see one email address attached to this, and who owns this email address, which computer is using this with the IP address. So a lot of layers, when you begin to you bundle them together and can say, oh, this is Sewe doing this in this darknet market. And so that shows that that was the beginning of understanding that, okay, law enforcement can actually trace activities down. So they did that. They confiscated a lot of those digital assets. At that time, they were able to seize about 144,000 Bitcoin within those platforms. And today, Bitcoin is about 51,000 US dollars for one. So when you do the numbers, that will tell you that cyber criminals don't even want to just touch Kenyan shilling or just normal money, because that is a bigger money for each one. So for each one, you are having $52,000 as at this morning when I check it. So meaning when you convert one Bitcoin, you have 52,000 wallets seated in your bank account or maybe your M-Pesa or wherever. So you are now a big boy that you don't listen to people within your area because you're so much big, and people don't go to that side. And so that is why those risks are critical. So that is just the risks about the darknet market. The second one is that when terrorists want to attack, they know that countries have got sophisticated ways to stop them. So when any money goes into any bank account and it has connection with terror financing, the intelligence agency will shut that down, because within the banking sector, they have visibility. So what terrorists have chosen to do is simply to move out from the banking sector, from the traditional finance sector, and they move on to fund themselves with cryptocurrency. So if you want to send any amount, maybe say millions of Kenyan shilling to maybe Al-Shabaab, you don't need to go to the banks. All you need to do is send them cryptocurrency, and they will do the damage they normally do. That's a big risk to the country. And that is why law enforcement, have to now step in to be able to check if this is sent to them. So I had a privilege to speak to the Nigerian Army Cyber Warfare Command. So that command is a full command that is commanded by the brigadier. And that command, what they're supposed to do is to sit down on daily basis with their computers. They are hackers for good. So they are hacking for the country, and they are stopping bad actors that are using internet to enter or maybe to bring down government systems. So they are, if you may, they are protecting the territorial integrity of the country, not physically carrying gun, but using computer to stop bad actors. And I went to speak with them, young guys, captain, majors, with their computers, good computer scientists, and I asked them, today, if you want to say you want to cut off the terror financing channel, where do you look at? And all of them answered. They have their intelligence within the banks, and so they're looking different segment. And I tell them, do you know? Because again, we have a lot of terror within the Sahel region. And I said, do you know you can send cryptocurrency to these terrorists and they buy different weapons and they continue to attack? And so if you're not protecting our territorial integrity with digital assets to stop the bad actors from using that kind of money, that's a big thing. So that's another risk, right? Terror financing. Money launderers, so for a lot of people that possibly, maybe they will hack banks.
Yes.
When they have banks, they have so much million within their coffers. Yes. So what they do is to quickly go to cryptocurrency exchanges and change this money to digital asset. And tomorrow, within minutes, you can see that money in US or Canada. And they have laundered the money. And so here we are looking to see the banks. We tell you don't move more than 10,000 Kenyan shilling. I mean, $10,000 at the airport. They will tell you, how much are you holding? A customer is stopping you. Do you have up to $10,000? You get to declare it. That is outdated because the normal criminal does not carry those dollars to cross a border. You just have it in his wallet and he can make billions of US dollars across the shores. So meaning money laundering is a critical risk that the government have to be able to see how they can mitigate this, right? And it goes on, including scams, because people don't understand what is happening. Yeah. So like I was showing you backstage, where we saw somebody promising 400% return. Yeah. It does not make sense. But again, because we are greedy human beings, we want people to tell us, bring me your Kenyan shilling, I'm going to make you 400%. And I ask, if you're making me 400%, what is the common normal fixed deposit rate in your banking sector? And that is where your common sense will begin to take. Today, I see about 13%, 15%. So if you're promising me 20% for a cryptocurrency investment, maybe it makes sense because you have maybe 5% more above the normal market rate. And it's understandable because the higher the risk, the higher the return. So cryptocurrency will be risky, so you can get maybe faster return. But when somebody begins to tell you 400%, even 30% should begin to say, hey, how are you going to make it? Where are you going to be doing your trades? Is it all within the same ecosystem? So there's a lot of risks that I think that is the reason we're educating the viewers to make sure that they're able to check and see what really happened. Of course, the scam that is happening, it's not only the viewers that need to educate themselves. The government have got a big responsibility to educate its citizens. And I'll give you an example with American equivalent of the CMA. They called it the US SEC, which is the SEC. So what they did when they discovered that the scam is becoming prevalent and their citizens are falling prey, they simply created a website and promised the same thing the criminals are promising. So when their citizens come there to pick it, what they get is a report to say this is a scam, and that is how you can be scammed. This is created by CMA, for example. And so make sure you educate yourself, look out for these red flags, and a whole lot of things. So maybe that's a style that the CMA can also adopt to educate the investing populace within Kenya.
Yes. When we come back, we'll be talking about the role of training, especially when it comes to law enforcement in enhancing these regulations on cryptos. But we'll do that after we come from this short break. Thank you. Welcome back to Good Morning Kenya on KBC Channel 1. My name is Mike Megu, and conversation is about digital currency, risks and regulations in the country. And before we went on a break, I was telling Wycliffe about The role of training, especially when it comes to law enforcement. What is the role of training? Because we want to have a situation where a person who wants to invest in cryptocurrency will feel safe to invest.
Sure. And education really plays a very important role.
Yes.
And when my colleague was basically sharing on some of the scams and schemes which are involved in the crypto space,
Yes.
You will be surprised that majority of the Kenyans actually end up falling into these traps. 3 weeks ago, I had an opportunity to be invited in one of the business presentations.
Yes.
And when through the presentation, when it was happening, I could easily spot some of the red flags. And by the time when the presentation was done, I basically just asked my friend, how comes the people who are full in this all could not be able to pinpoint some of these red flags? Through that, then I noted that there is a gap, knowledge gap. Because when you look at even the statistics, when we were starting, you mentioned about over 2.8 million Kenyans currently using cryptocurrencies. And maybe just to take you a little bit back further, in 2020, there is a report which was actually published. And Kenya did over 6.4 billion worth of crypto transactions.
Wow.
So you can imagine all this is happening. And if our law enforcement are not empowered, if our law enforcement are not given that much needed education, then at the end of the day, majority of the citizens will end up suffering in the hands of scammers.
Yes.
And that's why we are basically advocating for more training to our law enforcement officers. And that's why also we are basically showing them how to navigate and use the tools, the technological tools which we have, so that they can be able to track, monitor whatever is currently happening in the crypto space. Because for you to fight all these scams, for you to fight all these vices, you need to understand what cryptocurrency really is and how these transactions happen. Because if there is a lag of that understanding, then criminals will basically be taking that advantage, knowing that, yes, at the end of the day, we're going to scam, but there is no law enforcement which will follow us simply because they absolutely know anything that happens in the crypto space. And that's why right now we are collaborating closely with the law enforcement, letting them know this is exactly what you need to do, and this is what you need to understand, how cryptocurrency basically works and how transactions happen in that space. The same awareness, we are also giving it to the community as well, so that they can be able to spot some of these red flags. When my colleague mentioned that you find somebody who just promises you something which is non-reasonable, 400% return, something which is not feasible, it's not something that can be long-lasting. So the community also needs to be educated so that they get to understand whenever we come across such kind of presentation, or whenever we come across such kind of things, we already know this is a direct scam. The same also goes to the accountants. The other day I was just reading an article and someone just mentioned, with the accountant for today, they basically need to understand if billions of transactions are being conducted in the crypto space, how are they positioned to account for it? If this is the amount of money which is basically moving. So which means even for them, they really need to be up to date with whatever is basically happening, so that they will be able to account for all this money which is being transacted, and also be able to protect most of the organizations from some of the cryptocurrency risks.
You mentioned something about red flags, and one of the things that Deji pointed out is such things like you're being promised an easy money, easy way.
Yes.
What are some of the other red flags that people need to look out for?
Yeah, some of the potential red flags people can also be aware about is because there is one thing which is called ICO. ICO in full is called the initial coin offering. It happens a lot in the crypto space. And to probably just explain it in a layman's language, when a company sets up their structures, we normally have these companies which normally go out to the public and request them if they can buy shares in a scheme which is basically known as the IPO, initial public offering. But you see now with that one, the company is already in existence and the infrastructures are already in place. But when you come to the cryptocurrency area, the initial coin offering, remember this cryptocurrency has not yet started operating into the market. You will find now some of the drivers behind this ICO or initial coin offering. They usually come out, tell you guys, we want you to buy this ICO in plenty. Then once we start operating into the market, you'll be able to be the beneficiaries, all right? So you'll find majority of the people, number one, they don't know how ICOs operates. They don't know what exactly you're supposed to look at or read. And in a cryptocurrency space, we normally have what is called the white paper. The white paper basically is a document which details some of the use cases or the use cases of that particular cryptocurrency. Apart from having all this, they basically need to seek advice from a professional who will be able to tell them, guys, you see, having seen this type of an ICO, what I can clearly tell you guys is that this is a scam. So they need to be aware of the ICOs which are currently happening in space. And in Kenya, to be honest, there is lots and lots of ICOs currently happening. All right? So those are some of the things which a majority of the citizens or majority of the populations need to be basically aware about as well.
Yes.
Yes.
Deji, I'd love to know if, let's say, for instance, the Asset Recovery Agency decided to seize crypto. How do they do it and where do they store it?
That's very, very technical questions for the asset recovery, because again, everybody is learning it. So, but it's very critical, and I think countries are putting in place all modalities to make sure that happens. So, you know, it's sounding as if it's very far away, but I can tell you for free that it's already here.
It's already here.
Yeah, it's already here. So, for example, in Nigeria, millions of dollars are confiscated in the hands of criminals. And that is because we took our time to train all the law enforcement agencies. We train all the anti-corruption agencies, the economics and financial crimes, the intelligence units. We train them all and to make sure that, look, this is not a big deal. It's something you can investigate. It's something you can actually seize and confiscate. And then when this is done, it gives a second layer of problem, which you just asked. How is it going to be stored?
Yes.
How is it going to be custodied?
Yes.
And so asset recovery today, as it stands, if a criminal steals the money from somewhere, maybe from a corruption, maybe from bank, when the law enforcement arrest him, they seize the houses and they pass it to the asset recovery unit to keep until everything is done. So this cryptocurrency that is not physical, and how do you seize it, and how do you confiscate it, how do you custody it?
Exactly.
This is a new field entirely that we're talking about. So again, it's great. There's nothing that is happening that is not happening in other places in the world already. So it's easier to learn. So like in the United States, confiscate a lot. In the UK, they confiscate a lot. In Nigeria, I told you they confiscate. And I believe here, I think they should be seizing also, because I can't believe that Kenya is not arresting people that have criminal connections. So what happens now, whatever crime criminals commit and they are arrested, you find somehow almost 90% chances that it will be connected with cryptocurrency. They will move it somehow. So it's a complete investigation that needs to happen. So again, I would say the asset recovery need training. So the country has to have what we call a national wallet for confiscated digital asset, which will be managed by the asset recovery agency, and that we be able to receive them. But in receiving them, there are also a lot of risk. Who receive it, who keep the keys, how many people have to see it, so that it doesn't just move to one individual that understands the value and he also get corrupt at the end of the day. And this is what we have seen across the world. We were sharing one yesterday. He's a law enforcement agent, I think in Germany or Belgium, And he was sent in to actually investigate cryptocurrency that is related with darknet market. And he confiscated a lot of money, and understanding that his organization as a whole don't understand it properly, he decided to put it in his own wallet and begin to spend. And so it's another risk that the asset recovery agency have to look at. And this has been recurring. Yes. So like I told you about the FBI, so there are 2 guys that are still in jail, the FBI guys that went to investigate that, yes, because it is very new. There's a lot of dollars playing in that darknet market. They also took it for themselves. So that means there have to be a way to actually custody it, and whoever is custodying it is also under watch as a country. Yeah. But again, you have to have a national asset recovery, which has to be a digital asset recovery and custody framework.
Yes. Wycliffe, I'd love to know, what is the role of banks when regulations come in as far as cryptocurrency world is concerned?
Yeah. Actually, banks really play a very key, important role, yes, in terms of facilitating transactions which are happening. Banks can actually be used as an on-ramp. On-ramp basically means where someone can purchase, yes, their cryptocurrency, converting them from the KES to crypto. So banks really, they also need to be aware of what basically is happening in the cryptocurrency space, so that they can also remain compliant. Because remember, again, at the end of the day, if these criminals, once they have, let's say, stolen all these cryptos, you see, you cannot spend that crypto. You need to convert it, all right? And some of the institutions which these people normally use to convert their crypto, let's say, into now a usable KES, banks also comes in place. And that's why I'm really in support of the current happening with the Virtual Assets Service Providers Bill, which currently is being worked on by the Blockchain Association of Kenya. The other day, we saw they published how that document looks like, and we are basically now waiting for the parliament to start debating and discussing much about it, because banks, at the end of the day, they will be, in one way or another, participate in these transactions. And that's why it's important for them to know and understand and how to remain compliant with the crypto assets.
Yes.
Yes.
Deji, I'd love to know, is taxation the same for cryptocurrency or digital currencies the same as the traditional investment?
So I would say it's the same, but there are some new layer, as you may, new happenings within the cryptocurrency ecosystem that is not captured by the current relevant tax laws. But I argue, again, I'm a qualified CPA, and I tell my colleagues, yes, I said, if you continue to look at money, or you continue to get trained to account for money the way it was done yesterday, yes, you simply rob all the CPAs the chance to participate in the finances of the future. Yes. So how to account for cryptocurrency is clear. You have to know what is the International Financial Reporting Standard talking about digital assets, yes, how are they supposed to be accounted for, like my colleague talked about, yes, and how are they taxed? Yes. You know, so what are the taxable events that will arise from the using of cryptocurrency? And I had a lot of sessions with CPAs to say, these are the ways that cryptocurrencies can be taxed. So cryptocurrencies today are used for virtually everything you think of. Yes. So, and it's simple. If you use it to pay for salaries, so personal income tax will be due, irrespective of the fact that you work or whatever money you use. Yeah. Personal income tax will be due. If your company receive them as payment, which they do, which most companies do today because it's easier. If you have your client in America, in anywhere in the world, if he wants to pay you, normally now there's option. Do you want me to pay through the bank, or you want me to send you digital asset using stablecoin? Sure. Stablecoin is the blockchain version of dollar or Kenyan shilling that will eventually come, or whichever money. And when you do that at that button, it comes to you directly without wasting time. So when you do that as a company and you're receiving that, when you finish your corporate income tax at the end of the year, then profit tax are due for the revenue agency.
Yes.
So a lot of taxes, yes, are actually due on those.
Okay, finally, where can people find you?
All right. Yeah. We are located in Parklands Avenue, that is off Limuru Road, Workstyle Africa, 3rd floor. That is where you can actually find us. Also, from our website, A&D Forensics, you can be able to acquire our details from there as well, and we'll be able now to communicate from there.
All right. Thank you for gracing our show.
Yes, okay.
We have been talking to Adedeji Owonibi, who is the blockchain forensic investigator, and also Sewe Wycliffe, who is also a compliance specialist. And the topic was digital currency risks and regulations in Kenya. Don't go too far. Up next, I'll be talking to Ivan Yendo Ilunga, who is an assistant professor of political science and international relations. We'll be talking about peace and conflict resolution. Don't go too far. This is Good Morning Kenya.